last week I fell asleep 10 minutes into one and woke up 10 minutes before the end of the other. This week I actually managed to watch all of Clive and about half of Scruff Dog before falling asleep. Now guys, Saturday night into Sunday morning, we're getting there. We're getting there. Stick with me, folks. This is where old Greensleeves will be showing up shortly. That's the Guardia Civil, which is one of the legal enforcement. They say they're not police, but to my mind, if you drive around with blue flashing lights on your vehicle and you arrest people when they break laws, what other word are you going to use? I know in America you have this distinction with sheriffs, and they'll say we're not police, we're sheriff. Mate, you've got blue flashing lights and you arrest people who break the law. There are other words. Hence my bacon comments and the thumbnail to this particular TrampCast. I used AI to put a porcine individual inside a Guardia Civil, or at least a Spanish police type uniform. I couldn't possibly comment on that particular word. But yeah, Saturday night, guys. So I wake up Sunday morning. There's a disco going out, and there always is. Friday and Saturday night, there's no nightclub anywhere near us, but there's a loud thumping bass line. Starts heavily at about 2 o'clock, pumps up the volume at about 3:30, and goes right through well about 7:30 or 8. My pal in his tent, he can't sleep because of it half the time. I have to switch off to it and ignore it. But when I wake up this morning, it's going. And I wake up in time for another of my programs called Flashcast. This is the one that gave me the name for this. Replace Flash with Tramp, you get TrampCast. And I started watching that, but the thumping bass line, and I was a little bit tired, so I nodded off to sleep again. Here we go, folks. Here we go. The highlight of the week. Just as it's about, an hour after it gets light, it's just starting to get a little bit warm, and I'm just starting to think that I should go out and put my solar panels out. And we hear a vehicle pull up. This is them. Here we go. We hear a vehicle pull up out here. I'm still in bed at this point. I've taken a few layers off because the bedroom's starting to warm up. So I've taken the jacket and the jumper off, and I've opened my shirt. But I'm lying on the bed, and we're inside. And we hear a vehicle come slow, and we hear it stop. Tina immediately starts barking. Any time a vehicle slows, she will bark at it out here when it's this close. And I will listen, and I hear the door shut, so I know they've got out. And at this point, I'm still unsure. I think it's going to be them, but I'm not 100% sure, because a couple of weeks ago we had some new friends arrive here, and they pulled up in their car, got out, and said hello, in English. But I hear Spanish, I hear noises and I hear Spanish. And then I hear that they're over the other side of the tent, that they've come onto the land. And Tina's barking. I'm trying to calm the dog down and go out and say buenos dias, trying to be polite, trying to be, accommodating, find out what they want. You here? How long you here? How many days? 18. 18 days? No, 18 months. 18 meses. 18 months! And off we go. They tell me I can't be here. They tell me it's illegal. They tell me that it's... Okay, let's try and do this in order. Their English was good enough to ask questions, but they said they didn't understand the answers. They didn't get the answers they want. They told me I had to go, and I said no, I don't. They told me 10 days, you go. I say I'll need paperwork. You'll need to give me paperwork telling me what the process is for evicting me from this land. Then my solicitor will go to the judge and put my case for why I should stay on the land. And they're looking at each other like what's going on here? And then I tell them, as far as I understand it, this is private land. You don't get to tell me to go off this land. If you haven't had a complaint from the landowner, then the law says I can stay. I haven't been trespassed off this land. So they look at each other and they start talking in Spanish, not knowing that I know the odd word. And they're going, kind of lugar privado, private place. And one says, like, nah. And the other says, es posible. They look around and say, it's possible. Then they turn to me and they say, it used to be private, but the council, the ayuntamiento, the town hall, took it over 3 years ago. And I know that they're bullshitting. They just had a discussion with each other where one's saying he doesn't think it is, and the other says it could be. And now this bloke's telling me it's definitely public land and I have to go. What the fuck? The barefaced cheek of it. He's lying to my face, right in front of me, after having a conversation saying he didn't know. If you're Spanish and watching this, you should be ashamed. If you're from Torrevieja, you should be ashamed of your Guardia Civil. You should put in a complaint about them and about their behaviour. About their behaviour with me here last time, when they arrested me and threw my things away in the fucking road. Your Guardia Civil are out of control, and you're responsible for your police. I put the blame on you, the people. They are your police. You are in charge of them. You appoint them. You pay their fucking wages. Get a grip on them. Lying to my face after having a conversation where they both agreed and accepted that they didn't know. So I tell them I want paperwork from the court and that my solicitor will fight it. He will put my case. He will explain why I've been here 18 months. He will ask, why now? Why after 18 months must I move? Why when I lived here on the ground without shelter for 2 or 3 months? Why was there no Guardia Civil coming to help me and move me on to somewhere safer then? Why, when I got a tent for the first time, did the Guardia Civil show up within 36 hours? Why, this time, when after my tent was falling apart, they didn't come to help me and make sure I was safe? Now, I get a nice big tent. Now, they want to help me, make sure I'm safe, put me in touch with social services. I must go and make contact with such and such an agency. Now, after I get a big tent, they're all over me. Remember, they arrived here 1.5 hours, was it, or 2.5 hours after this tent was erected. They arrived and waved fingers and then backed away. Why now? What happened when the guy said, I'm environmental health, environmental officer, I'm here to protect the environment? He arrested me, let me go the next day, no charges, no nothing. What happened to the environment? Where was the concern? Why did nothing come of that? All of the other visits. What about my very first visit here, where the man slapped in the car, said, this time tomorrow you be gone, or you have trouble with me, and gave it all that and wanted to fight? I don't know whether that was real or whether he's playing good cop, bad cop with him and his partner. But they're out of control. I waited here the next day after that first one. I waited for your Guardia Civil, Spanish residents here, residents of Torrevieja. I waited. I told them I would be here and waiting for them. And I was here and waiting. They didn't come. And that is, what, 10 months ago, 11 months ago? Don't know. Why now? Why whenever I'm suddenly not in bad conditions, suddenly instead of having a tent that's ripped and falling apart, I get a bit of help from people and we get a nice new tent that's about the same, from the roadside, from where everybody sees, it's the same profile. It looks the same from up there. When you get down this little track, it's longer. It's twice as long. Can't deny that. It's 7 meters instead of 4 meters, almost twice as long. But from where everyone's looking, from where the police are on the main road, it looks the same. Why now is the question that we would ask a court. Why now? And their parting shot after I stood up and said, no, private land. I told them, this is private land. You probably shouldn't even be on it. You probably shouldn't have stepped off the road and onto this land. Why are you stepping onto private land and asking me questions in my home? I don't have to answer questions just randomly in my home when I'm on private property. What are you doing? I don't actually know it's private property. I'm led to believe that it is by a lady up the road who is an estate agent and who kind of sort of indicated that I was lucky to be still here because they tried to get rid of me and failed because they couldn't trace the owner of the land. Now, she's in property for a living. She might have been part of the group that were looking to get rid of me and that were trying to trace the owner. But I can tell you this for certain. There has been no complaint from a landowner to have me trespassed and removed from this land. Their parting shot at the end. They're going to go away now. They're going to find out who the owner of the land is. If it's public, they're going to seek a court order to have me moved on behalf of the town hall, Ayuntamiento. If it's private, they're not just going to let it drop. They're going to contact the owner and ask him if he wants me gone. They're going to solicit a trespass from a person who doesn't know I'm here, doesn't care that I'm here. I've done no harm to him, his land, nothing. But they're going to solicit a trespass. People of Torrevieja, get a grip of your Guardia Civil. In most jurisdictions around the world, it's illegal for the police to solicit a trespass. They wait, they receive a complaint, they act upon a complaint. They don't go around looking for complaints. That's just wrong. Sorry guys, barrack room lawyering. But you read little bits and pieces around the place and you hear things and see things, read things, some things stick. This is not how legal is supposed to work. The police shouldn't be knocking on doors saying, hey, you own that land, do you want rid of him? They should receive a complaint from the landowner, if that's what the landowner wants to do. And I, of course, would then be free to approach the landowner and to say, please don't do that. Through my lawyer, no, don't want arguments, don't want threats, nothing like that. But just, I'm doing no harm. I mean you no harm, I mean your land no harm. I'm just a guy who's on hard times, who needs a place to have a base for a while. I'm not looking to claim the land as mine. I'm not looking to build here to do anything, I'm not trying to take it off you. I'm just a guy who needs somewhere to put a tent up while I wait for other things to work their way through the system. That's all. So guys, that was my Sunday morning. And I tell you what, after they went, I dismissed them in the end. They were still stood there wanting to ask questions, and I just said, I'm going in now, goodbye. Buenos dias. Off you go. And they hung here for 15 minutes. Again, if you are a Torrevieja resident, if you are paying taxes here, and you want to know where your money goes, after they finished, 4 of them, took 4, after they finished, they stayed here for 15 minutes just chatting. If I was a resident paying taxes, we can argue about whether I'm resident. There's no taxes. But if I was, I would want to know what was happening in that 15 minutes. What was going on? What were you getting for your money? 4 officers stood there for all that time. What was the whole escapade for? What do you as a taxpayer get out of haranguing and harassing homeless people? Especially nice, polite, eloquent and erudite homeless people, such as this one. The fuck are you doing, people? Why are your police force running around doing this in your name? You might want to think about that. You might want to ask questions. Somebody should. Here endeth the lecture. Join me on Sundays for TrampCast. It's the weekly look at the successes, the failures, the happenings in my life as a tramp, a homeless guy, a hobo, living in Torrevieja in Spain. It's at 5 o'clock Spanish time, Central European time. It's at 4 p.m. GMT, UK time. And 10 a.m. US Central time. Love to see you there, folks. Okay. Delta Mike, out.